What's up? I'm Grizz. Welcome. Episode 4, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Another banger last week. We had some very great moments. I think they've done an excellent job of kind of pacing us through this, really being able to slow down certain moments and kind of make you really feel. And it allows those sudden moments, such as Fushiguro coming up and attacking Gojo, and even the fight that they ended up having, and even what he did to Riko at the end of the last episode, right? It allows those to hit so much harder when you're able to slow things down and really kind of explore and make you feel immersed in the situation that you're into so that it just hits you even harder. And I think that's excellent. And I think they've done a really good job of kind of figuring that out and the proper way to do that throughout this. Even in the first 2 episodes, I think they've done that both times. So it's been great. Very excited to kind of see what's going to happen here. I do have my questions about what exactly happened. I'm assuming she is dead, but now exactly this case that we go into, how Gojo comes back because he got obliterated, how Geto's going to fear going against Shiguro here, and exactly what they do with Tengen's new, because he needs somebody to connect with here. So who exactly they can they still use Riko even if she's dead? Do they have to find somebody else? How much of a time limit do we have? Like, what exactly is going on? So excited to see what happens. If you like it all, like, and subscribe to me. And a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments about this episode or series. Let's go on the episode. You know what's actually really funny now that I think about it? I've seen the panel of Fushiguro dying. Like, I've seen that now that I think about it, but I didn't know it was like I didn't remember it at all, and I didn't remember it was him. Huh. All right. I for whatever reason I thought that he wasn't going to. I thought that it was going to be like a ghetto situation where they think he does, and then like we're going to end up seeing him in the next arc or something. But I guess I'm completely off on that. Huh. Okay. Cool. I'll say I'm rather confused by the end sequence. I understand completely the idea here that Geto's fucked up, specifically with what happened with Riko, and the fact that they weren't able to protect her and fulfill this promise almost that they made, right? And he's also like very freaked out by coming to this place and seeing all of these fucking mindless, crazy people basically applauding at the death of this young girl, right? But I'm confused more so in his reactions towards Gojo. I'm assuming his not being able to recognize him was more of a something's different about this kind of guy, like something he doesn't feel the same way that he usually does, which he kind of isn't, because he's reached this state of you know, the right word, enlightenment, I guess, that he hasn't seen before. He's in a different space. He's kind of fucking insane at this point. He's reached his high, right? And he's confused by that, noticing that, but also just the conversation in which they have, specifically talking about there not needing to be a point for them to just go out of their way and kill off all these people, while one of them believes that there truly is. And this is where I get like confused and I'm not understanding that. And maybe we'll get more context and I'll be able to recontextualize all this and fully understand it and grasp it better next week, after I'm assuming we see more of the aftermath here. But this is officially like the beginning, at least, of our parting ways between our two here. Well, they've always had like differences and kind of the way that they've went about things and talked, specifically as we saw in the first episode, and the ways of going about and doing things and how they feel and valuing people. And I guess this isn't too far removed from that. I guess this is more so the same, with Gojo specifically not wanting to protect the weaker people, or not feeling like a value or a use in them. So specifically him wanting to get rid of all these fucking crazies in a way, and not feeling like there's a need for us or a point for us to not, I guess, kill anybody here. There's no reason, like we don't need a reason to do these things, that we should just kind of do it if we're feeling it. And Geto specifically seeming like more of a good guy, in my opinion, in this situation, by not taking others and lives and stuff like that, which is what he said before about keeping, you know, the weaker ones, and we're here specifically to protect them and do all of this. So where this drastic shift and everything comes from is rather curious to me, but I guess it's not too big of a difference, because Gojo's like entirely the same now, where he takes interest in people who have potential and things that he sees, but he isn't really interested or doesn't bother or care for the others. So I guess it really isn't that big of a shift, but I say big of a shift because Geto's specifically against the ways of the Jujutsu sorcerers and everybody else, right? So where exactly this happens, I like the way that they kind of framed it, specifically like Gojo was almost walking into the dark in a way, but while Geto was still in the light, he started sinking downwards. And I'm for sure overlooking stuff there, just not wrapping my head around it. So if you want to explain it in any ways that I guess it won't be explained next week, feel free to. But if it's going to be explained, just to leave it as is and I'll figure it out. Outside of that, really great everything else that they kind of did this episode. As I mentioned in the intro, I think their pacing and everything that they do continues to be excellent. The way that they can take these moments, these high intensity moments, and put it to a full stop, but keep you tense and keep you interested, instead of standard, I guess, shonen-y moments where you are in the middle of a fight and then they just kind of like put it on a pause to give you like full internal dialogue and stuff. And while we did get some of that, right, they kept it, I feel, interesting enough where you were kind of still on edge, like seeing somebody fucking float in the air for no reason, like all these different things that they did. And I think that all just goes to show the direction that they're taking with the show. And it's a really a test to that, of how they can take these things, these dialogues within the fights, and actually adapt them into this sort of material here, and actually make it elevated in a way, but also make it to a point that it doesn't feel like you're slowing it down or ruining the pace, but still getting the info across. And I think they do a really good job. I still have my questions what they do with Tengen though, because they still have to find somebody, I believe, right? Unless they're just going to go the route and let him continuously evolve, which I guess is possible that they just end up doing that. Also, I might have a big misunderstanding about that, because I don't remember what they said about the vessel. Like, I don't know if that's, I'd have to go back and look at the first episode again, because I can't remember if it's something that just appears at random, like over the years, or if it's something that literally, like, they can choose and pick one. Because if that's the case, we can just find another one, no problem. But if they're deciding like, oh, this is a thing that has only arisen like every 500 years, similar to when we're kind of trying to stop his evolution in a way, or fucked completely at that point, which I guess could also go to explain why the barrier and stuff within the first season kind of didn't end up working or alert them or whatever, when they ended up getting the attack on the school event that they were doing. I'm rather curious to see that. We get a lot of explanation here from characters throughout the entire episode, specifically regarding their techniques and how they use the curse technique or the reversal, like whatever that they use, right? I don't understand them, I'll be honest. I've never actually like sat down and really tried to like process what they each are, but that's more on me. I don't really want to, like, I don't care enough personally, I'll be honest, to do that. And I understand, yes, that'll probably help me understand the story and everything more. So I don't know if there's a base level way that you can explain it that I can understand, sure, but if not, I don't care enough that I'm gonna like really go in depth. There's too many systems within all these shows that I watch and other things like that. I can't remember things, and I'm not gonna focus too heavy on that. We get some really fun sequences here with them fighting. Specifically, we get to see the contrast in the first half versus the second half here, where Fushiguro is fighting against Geto here, and he can kind of read and tell the things that he's going to be able to do, and he has absolutely no issues kind of beating him in regards to that. The crazies continue to talk, and they give their whole speech about this. We end up getting some more Fushiguro backstory a little bit, I guess, specifically what they decided to do when it went to taking the maid and taking everybody. They went to Okinawa and stuff. I still don't understand the reasons for why they did all that, but I don't even know if that's rather that important. So we get to see some kind of chill moments. This is another one of the moments where they're kind of singling out a character or kind of stripping things back, and it makes you like, something's gonna happen right now. It's pretty obvious, in my opinion. Somebody's about to show up. Who is it? The only other person that realistically was going to be. He gives us his big explanation about how he used his certain reversal or whatever that he did, and he's able to heal himself, and he hasn't been able to do this before, specifically with Red and everything, and we saw that in the first episode. So it was really nice to see him actually put this into action here and be able to finally reach a state that he hasn't been able to before. And that's why he's kind of fucking going kind of crazy the way that he is here, and the way that he is just floating in the sky like this, and he's reaching the fucking divine state, because he's reached a high that like nobody else, like the pinnacle here, that nobody else is able to reach at such a young age here. Like, it's very, very obvious, in my opinion, why things are occurring the way that they kind of are. And this is another moment here where they kind of slow it down here. He specifically starts getting some inner dialogue moments, but they make it rather interesting, and they give us some really beautiful visuals for us to kind of go off of here. Fushiguro the entire time is talking about there's something off. I don't know what it is. There's something off. And that's pretty obvious that it's because there's something that he's able to do now that you're not aware of that he's able to, because he also wasn't able to actually do it until literally up till this point. Without you, he probably wouldn't have evolved into what he has today. And I think that's pretty fucking cool that he's able to. And I think it's pretty cool that we were able to see him kind of fail at once, and then now again he's able to actually properly use these techniques and stuff. So we get to see him use purple for the first time. I think the transition of the scene to be able to kind of come out here and then from the hole and be able to go right back into exactly what it does to his body is fucking excellent. I like how when Gojo asks if he has any last words, he specifically thinks of his son, but he doesn't actually say anything about him. He doesn't say his name or like literally anything. He just tells him, hey, couple years, this is going to happen. If you want to do something for me, cool. If you do what you want, you don't even have to do it for me, which I think is funny. And then we get to our end sequence, which I have talked about already at the beginning. And I don't really follow all that. See, because this is exactly what I'm saying. One of them goes to the dark, but the other goes to the light. Usually that's pretty straightforward what it is, but then we skip to the next frame and then Geto's here sinking down below instead, while the other one's still just going his other way, which kind of, I think, goes more towards my original idea of like the idea that Gojo's not really a good person. Like literally at heart, he really isn't. And so him going towards that direction would make a lot of sense. But Geto being this person who does come off like very nice and kind-hearted, specifically within these first couple episodes that we've had here, makes sense that he's going in a more positive direction, especially him trying to spare all these people, even if they are kind of fucking crazy and fucked up, spare them in their lives, while the other one doesn't really want to. But instead he starts sinking because he starts losing things such as his friend here, or possibly the visions and the things that he wants, or the connection, and possibly even losing himself at this moment, and he starts falling below, which I think is interesting way enough to look at it. It's gonna be all from me. Give me some pointers though on some of the stuff that I talked about, just to keep me on track and make sure I'm not like completely over myself here, out of it and missing everything here. But yeah, thank you very much if you did watch. Leave a like and subscribe. They do really mean a lot to me. Feel free to check out the other videos on the channel. I'll be back for the 5th episode and finale, I believe, of this arc next week. You guys have a good one though. Peace.